Hello, I'm back again. Warm tone as possibly can be, and Squish Gang present as well. A little bit of housekeeping. Urban Decay Born Around on the eyes, Tower 20 Fire Lip Jelly on the lips, very, very warm. Finally got a thing to put my brushes in, because winter is open back up, yay. And the lighting's gonna be nuts, because there's like clouds and storms kind of in and out, so it's gonna keep waving in from light to dark and stuff. Because I can't afford studio lights, and this is what you get. If I haven't mentioned, Squish Gang is present. And today we are going to talk about the Creepshow Art situation. Now, I'm not going to talk about this in a drama or tea channel kind of light, because it's been done. Lots of people have done it, and I'm trying to keep this short and sweet as possible. So what I'm going to do, of course, is analyze her language in context to everything that's happened. I will put down below Hopeless Peach's video and Emily Artful's video, which are heavy in the context of this video. Honestly, it will not make sense if you do not watch them. So what I'm going to do is read Creepshow Art's community post, and I'm going to explain to everybody, not everybody, but like explain where I can, the reason why she was able to build the authority that she had, and she was able to like bamboozle us in the way that she did. In rhetoric and just kind of philosophy itself, people have the notion, and even psychology as well, it is said that people are better at telling the truth than lying, and people tend to assume truth on behalf of the other person. This is very, very important regarding this situation. And the reason why I believe that Shannon was able to build the rapport that she did was because she wasn't lying about the events occurring themselves. And this can make a lot more of a convincing story. This is also why things like projection can occur. And this is why people tend to do that when they're guilty of something. Because you aren't making up an event. Because as a human condition for a lot of people is that you're not good at fabricating things. What she said isn't fabricated, because she allegedly did this to Emily Artful instead. And because this was not manufactured, she had all the correct details, the correct timelines, the correct statements, the events, cease and desists, and who has a kid, and all these kinds of events were correct. Because she has the ability to manufacture this because it actually happened, and all she has to do is flip the script. This is why a lot of people, when they're guilty of something, will just pretend that it happened to them in regards to like what they inflicted upon somebody else. That's why I think she was able to kind of build the kind of setup that she had. And she also kind of just puts in, she has a very strong ethos, very strong personality with the cussing and the, you know, and the weird sayings and the bro and all that kind of those colloquialisms that are very easy to connect with younger audiences and people that would tend to be watching her videos. So what we're gonna do then is we're gonna hop right in and start reading the community post, and then I have a few notes on it, and then that's gonna be the whole video, because this is something that everyone else has touched on, and there are lots of videos on. You can watch Smokey Glow's video, even Emily D. Baker made it, put it in our live stream. There's obviously the Hopeless Peaches and Emily Artful videos. There's Tamimi, I believe her name is, she made one. There's lots. So if you want to look into like the actual content, I'm here to explain the use of language in her statement and how it reflects with the Emily Artful situation. This post is going up because I need to talk about this and let you know what's going on. Earlier today I got there's also, like, you can tell there's a lot of emotion here because there's weird sentence formatting and typos. That's just like that's the same thing as Shane Dawson's circus statement, has that similar energy. Earlier today I got a message saying that I had doxed a relative, that I had been called out for saying certain things about myself and other creators, and more on a hate forum. Ooh, we have Oxford comma. Sorry. And I was confused because I hadn't done that. I would remember doing that. Here's my first note where I say bringing up personal authority of calling to memory. That's such a kind of toxic thing that a lot of people do when they don't want to admit something. Like, I would remember that. Calling into question like another person's memory, that's kind of a component of gaslighting, which again I hate saying that word. But so many of these internet people do that because it's so easy to fabricate and move around messages and do all these kinds of things that people on the internet can gaslight more, because you can set up a different personality than the one that actually exists and have a whole separate identity that has separate notions on how someone would act than your actual person. And then when your person slips, then you can kind of gaslight into thinking that that's you that thinks that slip occurred. This is something that Shane Dawson does a lot as well. Especially the doxing. That's so firmly against what I stand for, and I don't believe in doing that, even to someone that I loathe. That kind of, I hate that, because that implies that, like, someone that she loathes deserves it. I wouldn't do it to someone I loathe because I am above that. I'm above them. But, you know, people I love, like, kind of, like, deserve it, you know. However, after being sent screenshots of what I allegedly said about me, myself, and my friends, and most importantly my relative, I realized what happened. A little bit self-absorbed to put me and myself twice. A couple years back I made a video about what I had been a couple years back I made a video about how I had been stalked for over 8 years by a woman I called Amy. That's not her real name because I was protecting her identity. I talked in detail about the situation, how it affected me, and what I had to do in the situation to keep myself safe. So she's technically not lying that someone was stalked for 8 years and someone was manipulated, and, you know, all of these different events occurred. And that's why this is where her statement is the strongest construction and the most thorough use of language. This is because that these things actually did happen, and it's a lot. You can just throw in you versus I at this case, and then the actual events are stable in validity because there are traceable events. But I also discussed how Amy and I kind of reconciled at the end of that and came to an understanding. She even liked the video and supported me making it. We kept contact over the past couple years, and I thought I kept a good amount of distance between us, never letting her close enough to hurt me again. Apparently I'm really shitty at that. Obviously I was wrong because she has gone back to doing what she has always done, which is try to hurt me, turn people in my life against me, and salivate at the idea of me losing everything. This is playing to the emotion of the audience and typical style of her dramatics in her personality. This is kind of reinforcing that ethos that she had built over a long period of time. Like I said, she's very, like, flamboyant in language. Not flamboyant, but she's very, like, a lot of cussing kind of for no reason, a lot of kind of casual speak to kind of build a relationship with her audience, so that when things like this occur, she can use a similar sort of language and you make that subconscious connection to the person that you have been attached to through the content creation, through that parasocial relationship.
Can someone somewhere please stab me? Can you stab me, rip out my brains, and retract this memory that I just played for you of this full-grown ass adult woman who is saying that the Holocaust led to some great medical discoveries and therefore isn't that bad? We should not really shit too much on that because it wasn't that bad. Can someone with more patience and more kindness than I have in my own little body step into the ring and just tell this human person why they are wrong? Please? Anyone? No? I have to do it? Okay.
She did this for years, even when I didn't have anything, to the point where I was dating my husband. She sent him text messages telling him I was a horrible person and he should leave me. She made fake Facebook accounts. Again, Shannon was the one that made her account fake by hacking into it, allegedly. So these kinds of things are very interesting because this is to tell people what a terrible person I was, and she spent years fucking with me nonstop to the point I just wanted to end it. She can keep such a strong timeline. This language now is very direct, very point A to B, very clear, because it is almost like as if she's scripting Emily Artful's video for her, which is just so nuts. I had a sneaky suspicion she had been going back to earlier this year when I started receiving more and more images of self-harm and abuse in my inbox, because that was one of the biggest things she would do to me. I don't remember that in the Emily Artful video. I don't really know about that context. I'm not a huge, like, Creepshow stan. I think I watched, like, some of her Onision videos. I was subscribed, I think, for, like, 2 months, and then I saw this, and I was like, yikes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, in that regard to the abuse thing, I'm not gonna comment on that because I don't really know what that's referring to. I didn't want to believe it, though, because I am a polarizing creator, and some people on the internet don't have boundaries. It's why I had to shut down my Instagram, and low-key why I had to shut down Twitter. I've stated publicly behind the scenes the amount of harassment I've received has gone down by 100% when I deleted Twitter, and now I know why, because of Amy. This is, again, here there's a shift in language where she's combining stories between what it seems like Hopeless Peaches was talking about and what Emily Artful was talking about. Then all of a sudden she's using terms like low-key, oh, they just don't have boundary. Everything starts to become more casual and kind of all over the place because now she's fabricating. And when you, like I said, when you fabricate, there's so much less clarity because there's nothing tangible to hold on to. Obviously, there are people that can fabricate things. It happens all the time. But there's lawyers and psychologists and all these different types of people are trained to kind of see the nuances of, like, fabrication and seeing how people react to things. And these I'm seeing like all of a sudden there's a shift in tone, even though the seriousness is still there. That implies to me that there's a fabrication here. When she was harassing me in high school, I would get so many images of self-harm and self-injury that it would cause me to shut down emotionally. I had confided in her back when we were friends that was one of my biggest sore spots. Seeing someone like that was the number one way to hurt me online, so when it started happening in excess again, I started to think, oh, maybe it was her. Maybe she had gone back to that way of being, but I didn't want to think that because we had been so good the last time we talked. The last time we emailed, it had been lovely with her catching me up on her life and doing the same back. I don't know if she was going to use everything to try to paint me as something I'm not. Didn't think I need to use a VPN if she couldn't get my IP address. No, because she had a PI find your IP address, and they're particularly good at looking at things. As someone who works at a job that you actually had to like look at IP addresses and stuff, most services have to take them. Especially ones that are business related, things like, I would assume things like Photoshop too could take them. The software that I was working with took your IP address, and I could actually see when it changed, and I could see I could even see your internet provider to stay consistent to that IP address. She showed me pictures of her daughter and seemed so supportive of my channel. Thought we were okay, but I was wrong. This is interesting too because this is where they're combining realities of like the one that she's fabricating, the deflection, and the reality of Emily Arfel's identity, so this makes it easier to kind of put two and two together and create a more consistent narrative to what she wants to show. Because she's been posting on certain sites, I assume that's lolcow, posing as me. It's also interesting to not admit lolcow so that people that are not aware of the drama cannot find it themselves. Sweeping my IP, doxing my family members, writing things about myself and my friends, sending me death threats from other accounts, making false accounts to spam my comment sections that she did to Emily Arfel, spamming the comment section of my friends saying hateful things about me in order to get them to drop me, and just all around doing what she did years ago. And just all around doing what she did years ago. The tone of that is kind of passive. And almost is like saying, and I'm doing the stuff that she was doing years ago, or I'm doing the stuff I was doing years ago. This is like a very interesting, like, I find that I can see these cracks of like, oh, and years ago, even though like her story then too was pretty inconsistent. That's not it, of course, but the amount of time and energy she had put into it is well beyond what I thought she was capable of. As far as I can tell, she's been doing this for far over a couple of years. 10 years, 8 years, couple years. Which one? Again, once the fabrication begins, things start to slip. That is not to say I haven't messed up or been rightfully criticized, mind you. Oh, God, I hate that comment. I'm not blaming her for people being critical of me. Again, just kind of coming back to like, I have great personality, me good. I don't know how she did it, I don't know why she did it, but the moment my relative was brought up out of the blue, I knew it was her. She was literally always been obsessed with my relative to the point of constantly bringing them up over our conversations, asking me about them, using them to hurt me even in high school. So I'm sending out a cease and desist, and if it comes to it, I'll be filing a full restraining order. This is exactly what Emily Arfel tried to do, and the police were not helping her because it's really, really hard to prove cyber crimes. So now I think Shannon's like, well, if I do it first, now it's becoming like a race to the restraining order, which is nuts. However, I don't know how I guess she could have proof just by fabricating the messages. All she would have to do in times would be just flip the icons. I don't want to have to do that because she has a daughter, and this will go on her record, which will keep her from being able to get a job and providing for that child, and I keep going in circles in my head about this because I don't know what's right in the situation. I'm such a good person. You're not saying this is exactly like the Gabby hand. I'm not going to sue you because you have a child. You're a mom. I'm not going to take food out of your kid's mouth. That's the exact same notion.
Tell all your followers everything about all our past. I don't see an end game in that for you. And that's why I was saying just to sue me.
Jesse, that's stress for me too.
I know that.
I keep going and sitting with these litigators, thinking about the idea of people saying how terrible I am for suing somebody with a child. What I want is for people to hear my side. I have no desire to take food out of your kid's mouth. I know that, like, your kid is in, like, speech classes. I'm like, that shit's expensive. You're a mother. You're a family. I don't want to hurt you. The only thing I want is for my name to be clear.
People like to try and make themselves look better in any circumstance, whether that be private or public. People do this all the time. I just don't want this to continue. I just want this to be done. All I've ever wanted was for this to be done, and it's getting to the point where I have to protect myself and my family. I just wanted to update you guys because there's a narrative floating around now that I have terrible things about myself and dox a relative of mine online, and it's not fucking true. All that I can say is it's not fucking true. It's interesting that it's like a final plea to set out with. This is also just obviously a reading with like hindsight's 2020. However, I know that some of this stuff I did when I read this initially, the second she posted, I was like, this sounds fake. Like immediately, I was like, this sounds like you're setting up some sort of crazy scenario against somebody else. Like, I had no bias, neither here nor there kind of thing. Like, I liked her kind of, but I also like didn't stan her, but didn't inherently dislike her. So I had issues with it from the second that it came out, but I wanted to wait to see how things rolled out, and this is how things have kind of come to play. So I completely stand if no one believes me. I understand if I lose friends over this, but the fact that it's been over 10 years of this shit is exhausting. Different timeline now. The fact that 2 fucking years ago I made a video about this exact thing happening, about this person doing this to me, going to these extremes, hopefully says a lot. This has been going on for nearly half of my fucking life, and I'm tired of it. I'm going to be keeping the rest of this offline where it belongs. So if you have questions, I'm sorry I'm not answering them, but I want to address it. Again, I talked about this 2 fucking years ago, only to have her go around and do this shit again. I am learning every day how much time she dedicates to harassing me, and it goes deeper than I ever thought. She is defending herself against her own tactic. That's what I'm saying. So Switch, I think she was pretty certain that once the lolcow stuff came out, that Emily Artful would take her opportunity with her reputation being degraded to bring up these allegations. So she set up the narrative to make it look like Emily was projecting. So she's defending with her own tactic, which is really clever. And because these kinds of things are indicative of someone who is manipulative, because normal people don't think through these things. You know, maybe someone would ask me, well, why do you know? Wait, maybe you're crazy manipulative. No, I have to pick apart and read things for my school, like my schooling, like constantly. This is like what this is what I study. You know, like there's like that guy that does like body language. Like I have to do like actual language and pick apart, you know, structures of actual language and how people use it. So all I want to say too is when there's your data, your claim, and your warrant being backing up the data to the claim, that her warrant is always her internet fame and the credibility that she built through that internet fame and being someone that has exposed people. And she does this, like I said, through projecting her own guilt onto Emily Artful. So that's that on that. Let me know what you want me to talk about next. I'll talk about this. I got asked about it on Twitter with this little tweet here, and I did it. So, you know, my birthday's this week, so I don't know what I'm doing. And hopefully I'll have a microphone soon, maybe. I don't know, I own money, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, I will not talk about the Rachel Oates and Jimmy Snow thing, however, because I tried to watch his video, and the white knighting, God, it just it just infuriated me so much. And I just honestly get so like I can't even sit through the video, so I don't think I can really talk about it because it's just I'll get too much emotional tie to it, and I think I will not be able to present my ideas properly. So don't think I'll do that. I was asked about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing. That's a little bit complicated and a little bit too gray. I like to do things that are a little bit more solid. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see what new drama pops up. Maybe I'll talk about Tati coming back. I'm actually kind of happy about it. Anyways, you guys have a good day. Squish Gang says bye. And yeah, have a good one.
I'll bet they won't have. Wow, they have it! Blazing!